And clearly there will be an economic impact from the decisions that the US has taken, both here and globally.
Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple.
What do you expect the stock market to look like when it opens tomorrow in reaction to this?
I don't know.
Should we view these as permanent?
That, I think we're going to wait and see how this plays out.
Trump just slapped a 10% tariff on British goods, and Keir Starmer looks completely shell-shocked. After years of criticising Trump and promising to stand up for Britain, our PM is now scrambling for a response that doesn't seem to exist. Remember when Starmer boldly claimed he'd protect British interests? Well, now he's watching UK markets plunge while business leaders beg him not to retaliate. Is this the leadership we were promised, or is Starmer proving exactly what his critics feared, that he's simply not prepared for the global stage?
Businesses around this table, in the interest of putting money in the pockets of working people. Nothing else will guide me. That is my focus.
Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. In what can only be described as a brutal political ambush, Trump blindsided the Starmer administration with his tariff announcement, leaving Downing Street scrambling, while economic analysts watched their dire predictions unfold in real time. The 10% tariff dropped like a bombshell on British markets, but the truly calculated aspect wasn't just the economic impact. It was Trump's masterful psychological warfare, offering Britain what he framed as preferential treatment compared to the EU's 20% tariff, all while mocking Starmer as being very happy with this arrangement. The body language said it all. As Trump's comments aired on international television, Starmer appeared visibly shaken, the colour draining from his face as he realised the political trap he'd walked into. This wasn't merely policy disagreement. This was Trump systematically dismantling Starmer's credibility on the world stage, questioning not just his economic policies but his fundamental capacity to lead Britain through turbulent global waters.
And clearly there will be an economic impact from the decisions that the US has taken, both here and globally.
Building to this for 4 years, we're confident we have a plan that can move our country forward, end the cost of living crisis.
What's particularly damning is how swiftly the British markets reacted. Within hours of Trump's announcement, stocks plummeted, triggering a financial meltdown that wiped trillions from global markets. Business leaders, recognizing the gravity of the situation, immediately began pleading with Starmer to avoid retaliatory measures, essentially begging the PM not to make an already disastrous situation worse. The bitter irony wasn't lost on political observers. After years of Starmer not mincing words about Trump, with archived footage showing him denouncing the former president in the strongest possible terms, the PM now found himself utterly incapable of formulating an effective response. His team issued contradictory statements that betrayed a fundamental lack of coordination within the government, with different departments offering conflicting assessments of the tariff impact. Perhaps most devastating was Trump's strategic exploitation of Starmer's primary weakness, the British PM's inability to shift from criticism to constructive engagement when faced with hard political realities. For years, Starmer had positioned himself as the voice of reason, who would restore Britain's standing on the world stage. Yet when confronted with his first major international challenge, his team appeared completely unprepared, never having developed contingency plans for a scenario that economic experts had been warning about for months.
That is how we have planned, and that is exactly what is required today. Nobody wins in a trade war. That is not in our national interest.
President Trump says the higher penalties come in response to tariffs those countries impose on American products they import.
The tariffs themselves, representing a return to trade barriers not seen since the 1930s, threatened to push Britain toward recession. Meanwhile, Starmer's promises to protect British interests ring increasingly hollow as his administration scrambles to find solutions, fighting against time as market confidence continues to erode. While his administration scrambled for economic solutions, a single journalist question about Trump's very happy comment transformed the composed Starmer. We thought we knew into someone barely recognizable. His subsequent reaction revealed more about his leadership capabilities than all his carefully crafted speeches combined. After hours of silence following the economic bombshell, Starmer finally emerged from the shadows of Downing Street. Armed with rehearsed talking points about acting in Britain's interests, he projected an air of controlled concern. The facade didn't last long. When directly confronted with Trump's mocking assertion that he was very happy with the preferential treatment, Starmer's careful composure crumbled before the cameras. What followed wasn't the measured response of a seasoned statesman, but a revealing moment of vulnerability under pressure. Rather than addressing the immediate crisis with concrete solutions, Starmer resorted to a pattern of deflection that shocked even his supporters.
We have a fair and balanced trade relationship with the US, negotiations on an economic prosperity deal.
Beef, because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak. It's unbelievable. We can't sell corn to India. We can't sell rice to Asia.
He pointed fingers at previous administrations, Brexit negotiations, and nebulous global economic factors, everywhere but at his own government's lack of preparation for this entirely predictable scenario. This uncharacteristic display wasn't just about what Starmer said, but how he said it. His body language betrayed a leader feeling the walls close in. Tense shoulders, defensive posture, and uncharacteristic gestures painted the picture of a man without a strategy, desperately trying to maintain the illusion of control while scrambling for answers. The business community watched this performance with mounting alarm. Their concern wasn't just about the tariffs themselves, but about Starmer's emotional inability to articulate any tangible plan to protect British industries. The very leaders who had cautiously welcomed his election now questioned whether they had misjudged his capacity to handle international crises. Downing Street's subsequent attempts at damage control only highlighted the fundamental contradiction at the heart of Starmer's leadership. The man who had campaigned on promises of steady, principled leadership was now exposed as reactive rather than proactive, defensive rather than strategic. The gap between his previous bold rhetoric about standing up to Trump and his current floundering response created not just a political problem but a profound credibility crisis. For a leader who built his reputation criticizing others' handling of international relations, this emotional reaction revealed a stark truth. Criticism is simpler than constructive engagement.
What do you expect the stock market to look like when it opens tomorrow in reaction to this?
I don't know.
Should we view these as permanent?
I think we're going to wait and see how this plays out.
One that strengthens our existing trading relationship. They continue, and we will fight for the best deal for Britain.
The moment marked a potential turning point in public perception, raising serious questions about whether Starmer possesses the temperament and strategic thinking necessary for effective diplomacy in treacherous geopolitical waters. The fallout from this tariff crisis stands as the defining test of Starmer's premiership. His legacy now hinges on what comes next. The vague statements and lack of concrete solutions we've witnessed represent more than just poor communication. They reveal a fundamental weakness in his approach to international relations. This moment serves as a potential turning point. Will Starmer emerge as a decisive leader capable of safeguarding Britain's economic future, or will he prove himself out of his depth? His ability to navigate these complex international relationships in the coming weeks and months will answer that question. British voters are watching closely, and history will judge him by his actions rather than his words.